er jättevälkomna till det här miniseminariet som kommer att fokusera på ett arbete som vi har bland romer. Vi har precis lyssnat på samtal om romer i Serbien. Och ett speciellt välkommen vill vi säga till Jasmina Tosic från Belgrad som representerar organisationen Bread of Life som vi jobbar med i Serbien och i Belgrad. Welcome Jasmina. Jasmina pratar engelska och jag hoppas att det går bra att seminariet kommer att vara på engelska. Vi har ganska kort om tid, så om ni har många frågor så är ni jättevälkomna upp till våran monter på plan 3 efter seminariet. Det kan bli kort om tid om det blir många frågor under själva seminariet. Så, det tror jag att vi skulle säga. Då ska vi börja med att visa en film som vi spelade in i våras om en liten flicka som heter Nadja, som är 10 år och bor i Belgrad. Jag ska börja med att visa en personporträtt från Belgrad.
Ja se zovem Nadja, imam majku, oca, 2 brata i veter i ja.
Nadja bor i byn Zemun som ligger strax utanför Belgrad i Serbien. Hon tillhör folkgruppen romer. Romerna har inget eget land och bor därför runt om i hela Europa. För många romer är Sverige ett drömland. Kanske inte så långt bort på kartan, men långt ifrån den verklighet som de lever. Det är svårt att få ekonomin att gå ihop för många familjer. Ändå är situationen i Zemun bättre än för de tusentals romer som bor i kåkstäder i utkanten av Belgrad. Här finns inget rinnande vatten eller elektricitet. Många familjer har inte ens mat för dagen. Att då ha råd med skolböcker och ordentliga kläder till barnen blir en omöjlighet. Men det är inte bara fattigdom som gör att många av barnen inte går i skolan. Romerna har sitt eget språk, men all undervisning i skolorna sker på serbiska. I FN:s barnkonvention står det att alla barn har rätt till utbildning och undervisning på sitt eget språk.
Kad ustane ministri zemlji ponekad u kupovinu, ponekad se igra i kad treba nešto da pomaže mami pomoći. Što mogu, što nema ko.
På sommarhalvåret är det varmt, men under vintern är det riktigt kallt. Ibland ända ner till minus 30 grader. Husen är dåligt isolerade och veden man eldar för uppvärmningen är dyr. Nadjas pappa reser runt på marknader och säljer verktyg. Därför är han sällan hemma. Men bara en liten del av den tjänar går till familjen.
Volim da bude poznaćićarska i volim zato što volim da šlim.
Ja, Nadja och hennes vänner ser upp till samma popstjärnor som vi. På TV har de sett hus med stora swimmingpooler. Men det är en värld långt ifrån deras. För att kunna skapa ett bättre liv och få jobb i framtiden är utbildning viktigt. Nadjas mamma gick bara 3 år i grundskolan och nu hoppas hon att hennes egna barn inte ska göra samma misstag.
Ja volim srednju školu, omiljeni predmet mi je matematika.
Men romska barn har det tuffare än sina klasskamrater. Eftersom serbiska inte är deras modersmål är det svårt att hänga med i undervisningen. Därför arbetar PMU med att ge romska barn extra stöd, till exempel genom läxhjälp på sitt eget språk och lunchpaket så att de inte går hungriga.
Da bih završila školu, da bih bila što ja volim.
Rätten till en trygg uppväxt och skolgång är ingen självklarhet. Med din gåva kan vi ge Nadja och andra romska barn en möjlighet att gå mot en ljusare framtid där de kan förverkliga sina drömmar.
Thank you for having me here. So I will try to tell a little bit more about the story that you heard here. And what we are trying to do is, we are not there, present in the community where Nadja comes from. Nadja will probably marry in 3 years' time. And she will probably, that will happen to her sisters too. And her mother, who knows what will be with her. And her father, who is alcoholic, doesn't care about the family. So what we are trying to change the future of many, many children like Nadia. And what I'm going to present is a model that we are trying to create together with Roma people, with support that comes from PMU and Swedish government, to change the future of so many children. It's not a small number of children, it's really indeed a big number. So I will go through my notes and try to present the problem and also the solution. It seems that all Europe is concerned about Roma. Whether to be honest or not, we just are so much concerned that we really ask a question, honest question, is there a solution for Roma? Serbia is faced with this problem. It's a serious problem for us, and I will try to explain why. But first of all, let me just tell you, Bread of Life is a local, non-governmental organization that was started its work as a response to the civil war in the region that started in the 90s. Next year will be 20 years of work, and we work with, we used to work with refugees, but now we work with elderly. We deal with the problem of poverty among elderly. We work with children, with Roma children, and dealing with the problem of poverty again, but through the program of education and violence among children. And also we work with former drug addicts. And our cooperation with PMU started already in those years, in 90s, and while we were working on helping refugees. When the regime in the country changed into democratic regime, we had started with development work, and PMU stepped in again and is supporting us with that work, and specifically with the work with Roma since 2003 and 4. So thanks God and for His provision. This work with Roma has its continuity, which is very strange and maybe something to talk about. Why donors and why European Union even does not think about the importance of continuity when we talk about generational issues and generational problems. So Roma. What do we know about Roma? When we say this word and use maybe other words, I don't know in Swedish how it sounds. What is the word in Swedish? But in English it's gypsy, which is not a very nice word to say. But we immediately have a picture of them. First of all, let me just list some things, and probably that would be things that we know about them, and let's reflect a little bit about that. So, about the history, about their origins. There is no written history. Only by linguistic researches it's known that they came from India. Something that they're from Punjab, others from Kabul. But what is also known that during Mongolian time they started to migrate within Asia. But with Ottoman Empire, with Turks, they migrated into a Balkan region in the 14th century. Even at that period, in the 11th century, there are some records that Roma already inhabited Transylvania, Poland, Russia, France, England, Denmark, and so on. Most important element that defines Roma as an ethnic group is their language. Though Roma language is not unified, Roma people speak different dialects because of two factors, because of different times they left India and because of different tribes. But in Serbia they speak three main dialects. As we think about Roma culture, first of all we have in mind one thing, that is tradition. That tradition is very important to them, and they do not mix with others, and even between themselves, they have a problem to mix between themselves. There is a very strict hierarchical order. It's very important for them, and they respect elderly, like it or not. They never leave the elderly at the parents, at a home for elderly, for example, in today's time. Women must be subjected to men, children to parents, sons. A more privileged daughter of the house than daughters, sons inherit everything. Concerning marriage, they marry very young. As I said, Nadia will marry probably in the years of 14, 15 years of age. and parents are the ones who are making decisions whom they are going to marry. They're nomads. At the last seminar we heard they're travelers. This is how the word they use. They live for today and do not have time to plan, or they do not plan. So for them today is the most important thing. So they're very hospitable. You will be amazed how hospitable they are, something that we are probably losing more and more. But they are very much welcoming you when you come to visit them, and if you don't even need to say that you are coming, you just come and you will be really served with the best they can offer to you. They do not value school much and have a lot of fear of rejection from other people, and generational differences, only about 20 years, so they live like 4 generations in one house. There are a lot of prejudices about Roma and a lot of difficulties they are faced with. They have wrong views the parents have wrong views on education. Children are rejected by other children because of their dressing and hygiene. They have language problem at school. They speak only Roma among themselves. This is the case at least in Serbia. Teachers have different expectations and attentions toward Roma children. Roma children are often placed in special schools for mentally retired children. Their conditions of life are very poor. They do not have adequate infrastructure. You saw some of the things on a video, how they look like. This kind of settlements, for example, are very common in Belgrade too. There are 90 like this in Belgrade itself, and altogether there are 600 in all Serbia. And they frequently migrate, and indeed they have fear from other nations. Music is a very important issue for them. Music is something that is very important for their well-being and something that defines their ethos. Religion, they are mainly people who believe in God. They are mostly polytheists. They believe in the life after death, believe in ghosts and practicing witchcraft, which is not uncommon among them. They're very afraid of the dark, and especially of the dead, and so on and so forth. But today the religion's picture of Roma is changing. They begin to believe in monotheism, so depending on where they live, so take their religion, for example, in Serbia, Bulgaria, Romania, Russia, Roma are Orthodox. In Catholic countries they're Catholics, in Muslim countries they are Muslims. So they're actually accepting religion where they live. So that would be kind of a picture that maybe probably most of us would try to describe. I wonder was it the case with you two here. But what is the problem that we are facing? The overall situation of the Roma in Serbia is extremely unfavorable. Poverty is one of the key marks of their social being, which has been hindering their development for decades. The whole society must. There are also a lot of prejudices concerning their lifestyle. People lack knowledge about their way of life. People lack history and background. This continues as Roma live isolated in their settlement. Somehow both the state and the normal citizens tend to think that all these problems are problems of Roma themselves. They are such as they are. And probably this is the biggest prejudice that every one of us, if you are honest, has about Roma. This is their problem, and they don't want to change, and they cannot change. That was a prejudice that I had before I started to work with Roma, and I just simply said, leave them alone. This is the way they want to live. There are also statistics that tells us one thing, and that is also concerning poverty, that 60% of Roma do not finish elementary school. There is also a statistic that 60% of Roma under the age of 25, it's a very young nation, that also average life expectancy is about 50 years of age, that only 1% of Roma who reach the age of 60 years, and so on. So that's the estimation that Roma are the largest minority group in Serbia, and the largest marginalized group in Serbia. if you talk about statistics, estimations, there are 5 to 7% of Roma that live in Serbia. There are also statistical data that says that 100,000 Roma live in Serbia, which is not accurate. I heard that in Sweden there are 50,000 to 100,000 Roma that live here. One fact is here that we talk about here is that Roma is a growing population, and that also shows one very important fact, that very soon they will grow in number, and the future, as future lays in as future is with young people, that means what kind of future then we will have if we do not deal with this issue of poverty among Roma. So the conclusion is the Roma are perhaps the largest transnational minority in Europe. They are also one of the poorest communities in Europe, being frequently excluded from the formal labor market. And the main characteristic will be the unemployment and lack of education are two major challenges faced by Roma in Europe. There is one strategy, European-wide, that is called Decade of Roma Inclusion. So Europe recognized this problem soon enough in 2003. So they adopted a strategy that is called Decade of Roma Inclusion from 2005 to 2015. And it is a political commitment by governments in Central and Southeast Europe to improve the socio-economic status and social inclusion of Roma within a regional framework. The Decade is an international initiative that brings together governments, intergovernmental and non-governmental organizations, as well as Roma and civil society, to speed up the progress toward improving the welfare of Roma and to review such progress in transparent and quantifiable transparent way. The Decade focuses on the priority of areas of education, employment, health, and housing. So these things. So as I said, education is something that is the core problem of the poverty, and this is where we start our work. In order to help Roma with this and to deal with this issue of poverty, we have to start dealing with the problem of education. So when I say at Bread of Life, we started the program in 2004, where we developed a model of helping Roma child to finish elementary school. That is something that requires a long time commitment, and requires an attitude that is very clear with one thing, that you have to get one generation and to work with one generation in order to get and achieve some changes in a second, in the next generation. So the roadmap in order to help the Roma child is very intensive. That means that you have to help their parents, you have to help the local community, you have to have school, regular school that you go to, and then you have to deal with we help the Roma organizations themselves, and to empower Roma themselves and Roma leaders to deal with the problem themselves. So I have 5 minutes, which I was not aware about, but let's say that in these 7 years of work, we are very much encouraged by the results that we have achieved, but still the results and changes that took place are still not sustainable. There are areas that are sustainable, that is that in a community where we work, Roma now go to preschool, and all Roma included in a preschool program, and all Roma included in an elementary schooling program. But without the support of teachers that we have, they would not be able to finish elementary school. So we have to continue working with them. But there are, again, changes, but from the other side, there are things that is called not enough. Not enough support, meaning from the system itself. There is no supportive system and mechanism, good enough mechanism between government and non-governmental organizations. And also, poverty is a big issue. So this program is still not sustainable in that way that Roma themselves will continue generating change by themselves. That means that, again, we need to stay with them a few more years to get and empower future Roma leaders so that they will take their destiny in their own hands. So, since there are a few minutes left, maybe to leave some time for questions. I'm not sure how well I was able in this minutes to present the whole challenge, but if you can help me with some questions, maybe we will come to that point.
You are talking about Serbia. What about Kosovo? And there's
you mean Roma mainly? They left Kosovo, and they came they migrated within Serbia. So there is a big number of Roma from Kosovo that even live in Belgrade now. Yes.
Is it possible for them to go to school even if they don't have, even if they are not registered at a certain address? I mean, the people coming from Kosovo, the people from Kosovo are often hiding in the society, so they are not registered, and the problem for them is that they cannot go to the hospital and they cannot go to school.
Exactly. But this is then the issue to really provide documentation for them, which is the role of Roma organizations. It is not impossible to do it. This is the case. But it is difficult. So it is difficult to identify them, and also to, but it's from the state point of view, it's not a problem to provide all the documents necessary for education. This is part of our work too. So Roma themselves are not stateless.
Why are they leaving Kosovo? It is democratic, independent countries. Why do they leave?
You're asking me about that. Why do they leave? Because, well, a poverty issue is one thing, another thing is political. So, I think it's enough to say. One maybe statement that I want to say here, but I know this is something I say, that I'm really amazed that such event, like human rights issue, that people are so interested. There are so many people here. So, but when I know the Western Europe is really concerned about Roma, and the Western Europe really like them to stay where they are, and they mostly live on the southeast of Europe, so it's really something that makes people to wonder and to be confused what to do with Roma. And something that we feel very happy about is that we are on a way to really produce and give a good model how Roma can really stay where they are, and that is in Serbia. You're probably not concerned that Roma are coming in a bigger number here, or not? Oh yes.
We have Rome people both from Serbia and Kosovo in Sweden, and some are rejected and asked to return back. They are in a very difficult situation.
Yeah, it's an emergency because many, I know that the highest percentage of the biggest number of the people who are asking for asylum are coming from Serbia, and most of them are Roma. So I know that Swedish ambassador in Belgrade approached us and asked us for opinion, what we think and what Sweden should do about it. Of course, it is not an easy question, and no one can give an answer to that question. But one thing is that everyone feels on the West helpless when they think about Roma. What will be a sustainable solution for them?
When you talked about the Romas, you said that they are not planning for the future and they are happy. Was that? Did you say that just as an example of prejudices, or did you really mean it? because it sounded exactly as how they talked about the black people in US a generation ago, when they talked about them as they are so happy and they are good dancers and players.
Yeah. Well, this is really true. They live for today, and planning is something that is not part of even of their thinking and actually their culture. But myself, if you ask my opinion, I really feel that Europeans need to be challenged by that attitude.
Yeah, because the people coming here, I mean, I have seen so many good students they are really fighting to stay here because they want to go to school.
Exactly. This is what we also saw in
that is planning.
Yes, that is planning, and they are able to make part. There is one important thing of all those who work with Roma. To expect a change that we think is a change, it's a big mistake. We have to really recognize what is the value when we look at Roma. So this is a lesson we learned ourselves. They give to Europe something that Europe needs to recognize as a lifestyle and as a culture. That difference that they have is something that we should really think about. One thing that really motivated us and made us love them and be persistent in working with them is their smile. You will be surprised to see how open they are and how positive they are when you work with them and how thankful they are for the support you give them.
Thank you, Jasmina. Vi måste tyvärr avbryta precis nu. Men alla ni som har frågor och kanske vill fortsätta samtalet med Jasmina, kom gärna upp till plan 3, PMUs monter. Jasmina har väldigt mycket erfarenhet och lång tids arbete med romerna i Serbien. Kom gärna upp till plan 3 och prata mer med henne efter seminariet.